The sun cast a golden glow over the busy corporate district, where tall buildings towered like silent sentinels of ambition. Employees hurried across the bustling streets, carrying briefcases and hopes for brighter futures. Amid this chaos, the Buddha arrived, his serene presence calming the air like a gentle breeze, sitting beneath a flowering cherry tree. He beckoned his disciples to gather, their eyes filled with curiosity. The Buddha's voice, soft yet firm, began weaving a story that would illuminate their challenges. In this corporate jungle, he said, you face struggles, ambitions, and obstacles that test your patience and virtue. A young disciple, Kumar, spoke hesitantly, Master, we work tirelessly, but respect and acknowledgement seem as distant as the stars. The Buddha nodded, understanding the pain hidden in Kumar's words. Let me tell you a story, the Buddha began, of a lotus flower that grew in muddy waters. His words painted a vivid image of a murky pond, its surface marred by decay and shadows. From this pond, the Buddha continued, a lotus emerged, rising above the filth, untarnished and resplendent. The disciples listened intently, their minds beginning to grasp the metaphor. In your lives, the Buddha explained, the mud represents negativity, conflicts, and the ego-driven struggles of daily existence. He paused, allowing the words to settle in their hearts. But the lotus teaches us that we can transcend these struggles and remain pure in our intentions. Kumar's face reflected a mix of hope and doubt. Master, how can we rise above when we are surrounded by such relentless challenges? The Buddha smiled gently, as though anticipating the question. The key, he said, is to focus not on the mud but on the growth that leads to blooming. He extended his hand, pointing to a blossoming lotus floating in a nearby pond. The lotus does not complain about the mud, the Buddha observed. It simply strives upward, seeking the light, and fulfills its purpose. Kumar nodded slowly, the weight of the lesson dawning upon him. Likewise, your labor must be rooted in mindfulness, nourished by awareness, and carried forward by intention and connection to your spirit. Ananda's eyes watered as the Buddha continued, seek to weave not just for survival but for the expression of life, joy, and peace. I see that focus and purpose define its beauty, not its surroundings. The Buddha's expression radiated approval. Exactly, he affirmed. Your environment does not determine your worth. Your actions and thoughts do. A palpable sense of understanding spread among the disciples, their initial doubts giving way to clarity and inspiration. The group grew quiet, their minds absorbed in the profound implications of the lesson. Master, another disciple, Sanjay, finally spoke. How can we apply this wisdom in our workplaces and lives? The Buddha gestured toward the bustling office building nearby. View your work not as a burden, but as an opportunity for growth and service. His words resonated deeply with Sanjay, who often felt overwhelmed by his responsibilities. Serve with integrity, the Buddha emphasized, and your efforts will rise above the mud, becoming a source of light for others. The disciples exchanged thoughtful glances, recognizing the practical wisdom of these teachings. The Buddha shifted his focus to the collective struggles faced by the group. Competition, he stated, is not inherently harmful if approached with a spirit of growth, not destruction. His voice carried a conviction that penetrated their hearts. Help your peers, even as you advance yourself, and you will bloom together. His disciples pondered this new perspective, their faces alight with the seeds of understanding. Kumar, emboldened by the discourse, spoke again. Master, what if others seek to harm or undermine our efforts? The Buddha met his gaze with calm reassurance. The lotus remains unaffected by the mud, so too should you remain steadfast in virtue. The afternoon sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm, golden hue over the scene. The Buddha's teachings lingered in the air like the scent of the cherry blossoms above. Your path, the Buddha concluded, is illuminated by your actions, guided by your focus, and elevated by your purpose. With those final words, the disciples bowed deeply, gratitude evident in their expressions. The Buddha, ever serene, rose gracefully, his presence a quiet reminder of the power of inner strength. As he departed, the disciples remained under the cherry tree, their hearts and minds forever changed. The sounds of the corporate jungle returned, but the disciples heard them differently now, as echoes of opportunity and growth. Each one resolved to rise above the mud, striving to be a lotus in their own lives. The Buddha's wisdom, like the roots of the tree, had taken hold, anchoring them in clarity and purpose. Another day, another bustling scene in the corporate jungle, where ambition ruled and egos clashed in pursuit of success. The Buddha appeared, his presence like calm waters amidst the chaos, drawing disciples to his quiet wisdom. They gathered in a serene park near the towering office buildings, curious and eager for the Buddha's teachings. He began by holding up an empty cup, its simplicity captivating their restless minds. "What is the purpose of this cup?" the Buddha asked, his voice steady and deliberate. A disciple named Maya spoke first, her tone filled with uncertainty. "Master, the cup is useful when filled with something valuable." Another disciple, Arjun, chimed in, "Master, it serves when it provides for others." The Buddha smiled, his expression encouraging yet reflective. "Indeed," the Buddha said, "but the cup serves no purpose if already full of pride, assumptions, or fear of failure." His words struck a chord, the metaphor unraveling the complexities of their struggles in the corporate world. To embrace wisdom, you must first empty yourselves. Like this cup, Maya pondered his words, realizing her tendency to dismiss ideas from colleagues during meetings. "Master, how do I empty myself?" she inquired, her voice tinged with introspection. The Buddha gestured toward a flock of birds soaring freely above them. "The birds," he explained, "fly without carrying the weight of unnecessary baggage. They move lightly, open to the skies above." Maya nodded, recognizing the burden of her rigid beliefs, and resolved to approach her challenges with an open mind. The Buddha continued, "Emptying yourself means shedding pride, fear, and rigid judgments. It invites new ideas, understanding, and harmony into your life." Arjun thought of his competitive spirit that often blinded him to his teammates' struggles. A mirror of his own ego, Arjun raised his hand, speaking softly, "Master, competition fuels ambition, but it often drives us apart. How do we empty this destructive energy?" The Buddha placed the empty cup on the ground, letting the wind pass through it effortlessly. "True competition," he said, "is like wind passing through an open cup, light, free, and nourishing. It fosters growth, not division." His disciples grew quiet, absorbing the profound simplicity of his analogy. Their minds churning with newfound perspectives, the Buddha turned to the horizon, where two executives were seen arguing in front of an office building. "Do you see them?" he asked, his disciples shifting their gaze toward the contentious scene. "Their hearts are full, leaving no space for unity or collaboration." Radha spoke for the first time, her voice steady yet contemplative. "Master, why do we resist emptying ourselves when it clearly brings peace and wisdom?" The Buddha replied gently, "Fear of vulnerability blocks us. But this fear is a shadow, not a truth." His words resonated deeply, igniting sparks of realization among the disciples as they connected these truths to their own lives. Emptying yourself, the Buddha emphasized, is not weakness, it is the greatest strength, allowing growth, understanding, and wisdom to flourish. Maya thought of the merger discussions she had often dominated. Her colleagues' innovative ideas lost to her stubborn resistance. "Master," she said, "how can we encourage others to empty themselves and embrace collaboration?" The Buddha closed his eyes momentarily, reflecting. "Lead by example," he said, his voice soothing like the rustle of leaves in the breeze. "Empty yourself first, and others will follow." Maya resolved to change, deciding to listen deeply and approach meetings with openness rather than control. The Buddha's gaze fell on Radha, sensing her inner struggle as unspoken thoughts clouded her mind. "Radha," he said gently, "speak your truth without fear. To empty oneself also means to be honest and courageous." Radha hesitated before admitting her fear of failure in her project. "The weight you carry," the Buddha observed, "is the fear of judgment. Release it, and you will be free to soar." Radha felt a profound sense of liberation, her fear slowly dissolving as clarity and courage took its place. The Buddha's teachings flowed like a gentle river, touching each disciple's heart and mind with serenity and wisdom. "Empty yourselves," the Buddha concluded, "not just of pride and fear, but also of the attachment to success and perfection." Arjun spoke again, his voice resolute yet grateful. "Master, we often equate emptying with losing. How can we embrace emptiness as gain?" The Buddha picked up the empty cup, holding it toward the sunlight that passed through it effortlessly. "Emptiness," he said, "is like this light. It illuminates and connects, creating space for wisdom, collaboration, and inner peace." The disciples bowed deeply, their gratitude evident as they embraced the transformative power of his words. As the Buddha rose to leave, the disciples remained under the cherry tree, reflecting on the lessons that had touched their lives. The bustling corporate jungle regained its usual rhythm, but the disciples heard it differently now, as echoes of opportunity and harmony. Each one resolved to empty themselves of pride, fear, and rigid judgments, striving to create space for wisdom and growth. The Buddha's teachings lingered in their hearts, a gentle yet powerful reminder of the beauty and strength in simplicity. Another day, another opportunity to guide those lost in the labyrinth of decisions. Amidst the ever-changing corporate jungle, the Buddha arrived, his steps light yet purposeful, as if carried by the wisdom he sought to share. The disciples gathered once again, their faces burdened by choices that weighed heavily on their minds and hearts. The Buddha observed their anxiety, his serene gaze sensing the turmoil within each individual present. He began, "Life presents itself as a vast forest, filled with paths that seem alluring yet uncertain. How do you navigate this?" The disciples remained silent, their reflections mirrored in the stillness of the surrounding air, their thoughts unraveling. A disciple, Arjun, spoke hesitantly, "Master, we stand at crossroads daily, unsure of which path leads to success or which to failure." The Buddha listened patiently, his presence itself a balm for Arjun's agitated spirit. "Let me tell you a parable," the Buddha began, his voice calm yet resonant. Like a stream flowing through a dense forest, a merchant once entered a forest, seeking treasures that were rumored to lie deep within its shadows. The disciples leaned closer, their curiosity awakened by the unfolding tale. At every fork in the path, the Buddha continued. The merchant hesitated, doubting whether he should proceed or retreat. The image of the indecisive merchant mirrored their own struggles, leaving the disciples introspective and attentive. Hours turned into days, the Buddha said, and the merchant's fear of regret anchored him, unable to choose a single path. His words painted a vivid picture of stagnation, the merchant's plight reflecting their own hesitation. The Buddha's eyes met theirs, his gaze unwavering yet compassionate. "Indecision," he said, "is like stagnant water. It breeds doubt, fear, and missed opportunities." His words lingered in the air, like seeds waiting to sprout within their minds. A disciple named Kumar, carrying the burden of unmade choices, asked, "Master, how do we decide when every path seems both promising and risky?" The Buddha replied, "The answer lies not in certainty, but in the courage to act and the wisdom to learn." He gestured toward the forest surrounding them, where birds flitted from branch to branch, their movements purposeful yet free. "Do you see how the birds choose their paths?" he asked. "They trust their instincts and adapt as they go." The disciples nodded, the simplicity and depth of the analogy resonating within them. "Life is not a straight line," the Buddha continued, "but a journey where each step builds the road ahead." His voice carried the weight of centuries of wisdom, yet remained gentle and accessible. Radha, another disciple, spoke softly, "Master, what if the path we choose leads to failure or regret?" The Buddha smiled, his expression radiating understanding. "Failure," he said, "is not the end, but a chapter. It teaches and propels you toward growth." The disciples absorbed his words, their inner conflicts beginning to dissipate under the light of this newfound perspective. The Buddha elaborated, "Even a wrong turn in the forest reveals trees, life, and lessons you would have otherwise missed." The warmth of his words filled the disciples with a sense of possibility, their fears slowly giving way to hope and resolve. The path itself is not as important, the Buddha emphasized, as the intention and wisdom with which you tread it. He turned to Sanjay, who had often struggled with balancing ethical decisions against the lure of immediate rewards. "Sanjay," the Buddha addressed him, "what weighs heavier in your mind, the destination or the journey?" Sanjay hesitated, his inner turmoil evident. "The journey," the Buddha said, "is where your growth, learning, and character are forged. The destination is but a momentary result." His words encouraged Sanjay to reevaluate his choices, prioritizing integrity and growth over fleeting gains. The disciples grew silent, their thoughts dancing between clarity and reflection as the Buddha's teachings settled like morning dew. "Do not fear the forest of choices," the Buddha concluded, "for it is where wisdom is born, and courage is tested." Maya, deeply inspired, spoke with conviction, "Master, I will choose my path with courage, even if uncertainty shadows it." The Buddha nodded approvingly, his serene demeanor reflecting the success of the day's lesson. The sun began to set, its golden hues casting a serene glow over the forest and the gathered disciples. As the Buddha rose to depart, the disciples bowed deeply, their hearts filled with gratitude and newfound determination. The sound of their footsteps as they left was no longer hesitant but confident, each step a testament to their growth. The Buddha's wisdom, like the roots of the ancient trees, had anchored their spirits in courage and clarity. The corporate jungle beckoned once more, but the disciples returned with a renewed sense of purpose and strength, each resolved to embrace decisions as opportunities to learn and grow, facing their paths with resilience and grace. The Buddha's teachings lingered, a beacon guiding their steps through the forest of life, illuminating every shadowed corner with wisdom. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.